Good afternoon. It's Stacy with Singer Career Counseling. Wanted to reach out today and talk a little bit about resumes and adding hobbies and interests to your resume. So I was doing some sourcing today on LinkedIn. You know, if you're a recruiter, you know what I mean. But for everyone else, it is actually looking, we call sourcing just really looking through and trying to find a certain candidate to fill a certain position. So I was actually looking for a director level person for a product, some type of product management company, or position. And I noticed this person and I was like, okay, his skills are great. You know, he seems like he'll be a good match. And so when I downloaded his resume, his hobbies and interests were on there. And I stopped and I looked back over his resume, his experience and everything. And he actually had 10 years of experience on his resume. Now, if you have 10 years of experience, you probably don't, I won't even say probably, you do not need to put down what your hobbies and your interests are. If you're adding hobbies and interests on your resume, that would be for someone who has, you know, just a little bit of work experience, maybe just gotten out of college, and you want to show some of your interests that might be relevant or some hobbies that might be helpful. You're actually just trying to fill up that page a little so it looks like you have some substance and that you have some things that you do outside of work. And that's fine. You can do that. Just be careful what you put on it. I'll get back to that in just a moment. A lot of people will put it as, instead of interest, they'll put community service. Again, those are things that are normally on someone who is pretty junior in their career training or their career experience. For the type of clients that I work for, again, if you're transitioning out of the military or if you're in mid-career and you want to transfer to a different position, starting all over in a different field, those are the clients I work with. Again, if this is your first time tuning into my channel, thank you for dropping in. Take a look at the bio and see what my focus is. All right. I have military experience, so my heart goes to veterans who are recently transferring, you know, back into civilian life. I have a passion for that because I understand what it's like. And then also those people who are about midstream in their career and they're just not happy with it, not satisfied, really don't know how to navigate this whole transition. So everything I do is kind of centered around transitioning. If you haven't subscribed, please go up and subscribe on my video. I never know which way I'm pointing, but anyway, you see it up in a corner to subscribe. And be on my email list so you'll have firsthand knowledge of when I'm doing something special and also to receive some special perks and bonuses. Anyway, back to this information. So I was a little taken aback to see that a director actually put down some of his hobbies. Now, one, I would have to say, if I was going over his resume and he was talking to me, asking some advice from me, maybe in a discovery call, and he was talking to me, the first thing I would tell him, well, probably not the first thing, but one of the things I would address is that his hobbies were not hobbies. He had things down like proficient in e-commerce, those are skills. Proficient in SaaS, skills. He also put down, he had an interest in computer technology and rebuilding computers. Okay, that may be an interest or skill, just depends on how often he does it. An interest or hobby just depends on how much he actually is active in that area. But typically when we think of hobbies, we think of things like photography, painting, ceramics, you know, mechanic. I like to repair, you know, and restore vehicles, things of that nature, right? I think most people know what hobbies are. An interest, I have an interest in, I don't know, acrylic paints, you know, doing acrylic painting. I have an interest in history. I, like to research things. Those are interests, right? Things you like to, take a deeper dive into. But getting back to hobbies too, you have to be careful when you're putting down hobbies. Okay, so if you're mid-career and you're putting down hobbies, that might be a thing we need to take case by case basis. So I'm not going to tell you not to put it down there, but it may be a case by case basis you need to look at. Also, those who are transitioning from the military, if you have some hobbies down there, that might be justified. Just depends on what you're doing. If you're, still keeping your career from the military and rolling that into civilian life, or if you're changing completely, like I had to do. You just completely what you did in the military is just not translating over, all right? So, but hobbies, you have to be very careful with. There was a resume that I got some time ago, and the gentleman had put down that he enjoyed hunting. Can anybody think of why that wasn't a good idea? I'll tell you, since we're not on live here, not everyone is in agreement with killing or the slaughtering of animals, depending on how you look at things, okay? Everyone has their personal opinion about that. And so you may be sitting across, okay, let's say you got the interview and you're sitting across the table from someone who is an animal activist. That could be a problem. We're human, all right? And as much as you want to say, oh, they shouldn't judge me on that, that shouldn't be a part of it, they should be looking at my skills and qualifications, that may be, but you shouldn't have put it on your resume, okay? Now you have put it out there. It's like telling someone what's going on in your life and then saying, you need to stay out of my business. You just told me, okay? So make sure anything that you don't want people to know, comment, or have an opinion about outside of work experience and skills, don't put it on your resume. So things of that nature, anything that reveals your personal opinion, your lifestyle, and I know how big that is these days, but again, we're looking at your skills, your qualifications. That's what we're judging you on for this position. You don't need to put down, be careful about what groups you put down. I'm sorry if that hurts anyone's feelings. You can be proud about what you're doing, what cause you're supporting. Do that on your own time. If you want to get a position and you're looking to get a position that you really want, this is going to change your life. This is going to make you happy. That's what I'm here to do, is make people happy in the jobs that they are. Believe me, there is happiness in working for different companies. I have been there many times where I've worked with some companies that, hey, you can mark that right up there by a dream job, okay? But, and then of course things happen to me like downsizing. I'm a downsizing nightmare, but still, that's business and I still enjoyed what I did. But you have to pull back. People a lot of times say, oh, I just want to be who I am. And if they don't like it, then too bad, okay? They may not like it, and too bad for you. All right, so I'm not telling you to be anyone else. I'm not telling you to put on a facade. When I interview, I am who I am. I tell how I feel it. Now, I'm at a particular age. And, the people who I'm probably speaking with right now, unless you transition out to military, after just a few years, you're probably at that certain age where you know what you want in life, right? You know what's going to make you happy. You know what's going to satisfy you at the end of the day. You know what's going to make you feel good at the end of a day of work, okay? So you are looking for those things, right? Don't be anybody that you're not. Just like how I show up on these videos, I am who I am. I don't feel the need to dress up in a suit every day like I'm interviewing anyone. I'm here to give information. If you don't like my Leo picture, I'm a Leo, by the way. If you don't like my lion picture in the back, that's okay. Hear what I'm saying. If you don't like my voice, you don't like the way I present this, that's okay. I may not be for everyone. In fact, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. But when you're interviewing, again, you're not trying to be for everyone, because every job we interview is not for us. It is not the perfect fit, but just show up as your authentic self. Don't put on paper your authentic self. Would I laugh and joke with my friends, how I, let my hair down when I'm with my girlfriends, or my family, and laugh and talk? It's not what you're going to do on an interview. It is not what you're going to put on that resume. All right, I see this so many times, especially now. People just want to be themselves. That is fine. All right, but you don't have to. Your resume is not for you to tell your life story. Oh, well, they need to know this. No, they don't. No, they don't. Some things are good for conversation. Have you ever thought about that? All right, don't put everything on your resume, because what are we going to talk about during the interview? To me, the best interviews are conversations. That's how I like to conduct my interviews. Now, there are times that we have to go into behavioral interviews. I'll talk about behavioral interviews when I actually do my series on interviewing. But they are basically interviews to see how you're going to react in a certain situation. The questions usually start with, tell me about a time. All right, you've probably heard those. But not to dive deep into that. When you're having a conversational interview, that usually means that the recruiter or the hiring manager has already looked at your resume, and we want to hope that they have, okay? Because that shows a little interest on the part of the company. And hopefully it's not the first time they're looking at your resume. But as they're looking, through, they may look off, ask you a couple of questions about something, and then may sit back and go, hey, I see you worked on aircraft. I was looking through your resume and you got some interesting background on that. What else do you do that might be a little bit interest, an interest of something? These are the times that you can maybe talk, okay? So what I just told you was something that was on my resume. As I mentioned in previous videos, again, if this is your first time joining me, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today. Just join and pop in, and then you can subscribe to my channel, and you'll see whenever I'm on or whenever I post a new video, okay? But so I have an aircraft background. That doesn't sound right. I have a background from when I was in the Air Force. I worked on fighter jets, okay? I took care of the weapons system of the aircraft. I'm losing my voice today. I took care of the weapons system of the aircraft. So I had a little electronic, a little electrical, a little mechanical skills. I still know how to turn a wrench. But those are things I have, right? On my resume, as I mentioned before, I never take off the fact that I was in the Air Force. I don't care how many years ago it was. I just put it under a separate heading, leave the dates off now, and just put down that I was honorably discharged and what my job title was. Now, I specifically put my job title because it's an interest, and it usually is a good conversation starter because people see it. Now, one thing I like to do is I like skeet shooting. Now, I haven't done it in a while, so yeah, I really wouldn't, talk about it a whole lot. But I do enjoy that. Target shooting, yeah, that's a thing I like to do. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a hobby, but I do like to target shoot. All right, sorry, but some people may not like that. So I wouldn't put that on my resume as an interest of mine, right? But in an interview, if someone is talking to me and we're having that conversation and they say, oh, you've got mechanical skills, it looks like, you've got an interesting background from what you do now. You've gone from like an outside type of job to inside administrative type job. Do you do any of those things like you used to? Well, obviously I don't load bombs and missiles on jets any longer. So I may say something like that. I'm always feeling how my interviewer, where their level of, comfort is. Should I make a little joke like that? But let's say I do. But I'll say something like, Well, I don't do that type of thing anymore, but I do have some odd things that most people work in the office, or I should say most women who work in the office don't do. I like target shooting. It's something that I learned while I was out on the flight line. I obviously work with a lot of men, and they used to do that. I tried doing archery, but I couldn't break the bow. Those are conversation starters, all right? One, it allows people to see your personality a little bit, and then it tells a little bit about you. Now, I would not say anything, oh, yes, I like to, do anything that is dangerous or harmful to others, or that's socially and politically a tight wire to walk on, right? And I would hope that most people understand that. I would not bring those things up, but something that someone would may find, wow, that's interesting. And if you're not sure, run it by somebody, and maybe not your close friends, maybe a coworker or something, and find out, what their thoughts are about it, okay? But that's my little talk on putting hobbies and interests on. Be very careful about what you do. You will have plenty of time to show who you are, to tell your coworkers, to tell your new employer that you're going to get, if you follow with me, about things you like to do. They'll get to know your personality. Today or that day, your resume is there to introduce you, to get you to interview, to get you a seat sitting in front of that decision maker and get the job. All right. Again, thanks for dropping in and listening to me. I am Stacy, and I'm with Singer Career Counseling. I'm here to help you in any way I can. Again, subscribe to my page. Get on my email list so I can keep in contact with you, all right? I'll be doing series through the rest of this year and putting together some things where you can follow through and learn how to construct that resume. I'm on the resume right now. I'll move to interviews and things of that nature. But please stay tuned. Again, appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful evening.